This is a podcast about both having autism and living with someone who has autism. My mom is Sonya, and I'm Josh, and this is Josh Has Autism.
Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by.
Hello.
Yep. So today, this is not what we're going to talk about today, but I just have to get this out there so that, you have a dentist appointment pretty soon. So, there was once upon a time when that was a nightmare. To get you to the dentist, to get you to let them do what they needed to do, was very, very difficult for you.
Let alone any doctor, really.
Yeah. But you have a dentist appointment today, and it's amazing because, we talk about you forgetting to brush your teeth. That's been kind of for you in life. That's something that's difficult for you to remember. But you haven't had any cavities. And the whole time you're growing up, I fought with you to brush your teeth, all this time, no cavities, and then as an adult you had one cavity. And it was little.
Yeah.
And I have a mouthful of lead because I have so many cavities. But and you don't brush your teeth, and you had one teeny tiny cavity. So anyway, it's
because I'm awesome.
It's a pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing that you've worked through that whole issue about going to the dentist, and now you're okay with it. You just do it. Yeah. Even this filling thing has been since we've lived here, which has been, 4.5 years. So, you did that. And anyway, it's amazing.
That was the last visit, I thought.
Maybe.
Or the time before that. So maybe a year ago.
Yeah, I think about a year ago, because we go every 6 months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just wanted to mention that, because I'm proud of you for that. It's really pretty stinking awesome.
Yeah.
And if people, if somebody doesn't have the adversity to going to the dentist like you did, wouldn't understand what an accomplishment it is.
Right.
But the fact that you're calm about it, that you go in and you just let them do what they need to do is huge.
Yeah. I still tense up, but I let them do their job. Mm-hmm. Which is very difficult sometimes to do.
I think especially, when you have something done where they have to numb it, that part is the scariest, because what if you're going to feel something? I think that's probably the biggest concern for most people.
Yeah. You
don't want to feel it.
But even then, even just the cleaning, the vibrations or whatever bother me.
Right.
So it's hard for me not to tense up. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah. But anyway, you said that was a side note. What are we talking about today?
December 31st, 2016.
Oh.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yes. So New Year's Eve, about 7:30 in the evening, you drive. I think people know at this point that you drive, or you did.
Yes.
And you had taken Connor home for us, and on the way back, you had a head-on collision.
Yes.
And I want to talk about that. We just got the notice, finally, that the case has been settled.
Yay.
Yeah. Yes. That's a huge relief.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know what was going to... that's the first time that's happened. You were responsible for the accident.
Yes.
And you, since then, have not driven. Maybe a couple times, but that's it. And it was out of necessity.
Yes.
But yes, you had this car accident, head-on collision. Dad and I were sitting at home. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a gig that night, so it was where we were just said, I'm not going to go anywhere. If I'm not going to be on stage New Year's Eve, I'm just going to stay home. Yeah. So we were home, relaxing. I didn't get to it in time. My phone got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Mm-hmm. Didn't think too much about it. Dad's phone rang, same number. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I just knew.
Yeah.
And it was you. The first thing you said was head-on collision. And Dad and I rushed to you faster than I think we've ever moved anywhere. And the other people were injured.
Yes.
You had a concussion, broken toe.
Which wasn't the big toe either. It was the one beside it.
Which is weird.
Yes.
You had bruised ribs, bruised abdomen.
Yeah.
You were wearing your seatbelt, thank goodness.
Yes, very much so.
And wherever the seatbelt was, it left huge bruises that looked horrible.
Yeah.
But you had a bunch of cuts, and especially on your
pinky on my left hand.
Your left hand. It wasn't just your pinky, it was your whole...
But my pinky had it the worst.
Yeah. And what happened is... you holding the steering wheel, when the impact happened, your hand kept moving forward.
Yeah. And
you punched the windshield.
Not on purpose.
Well, sure. Right.
But it did leave a fist-shaped indent in the window, from what you've told me.
It did. Yeah, it did. I'll try to find those pictures and show you.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So the cars were totaled, both of them.
Yeah. I'm just happy I can laugh about it now.
I know, me too. It was the scariest experience. Anybody that has kids and you send them off, you have this worry. You don't know what's going to happen. And I know that you're an adult, but it's a bit different. We're still very much in your life in a way that maybe most people are when, their kids are teenagers.
Yeah.
And so, we worry about you anyway.
Yeah.
And to have that happen, I didn't know what kind of state you were in.
Right.
I mean, I know that you said something. You said head-on collision.
Yeah.
You said where.
Yeah.
And we were there within minutes.
Yes. It was within a mile of home, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So just another one of those statistics.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So tell me and us about the accident.
So first off, I'm so happy that Connor was not in the car with me. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy that he was at home at that point. Mm-hmm. And so I went around the corner, going the speed limit. It was drizzling, and the road was brand new, so it had oil on the top of it. And the rear end got away from me. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing the car, or the SUV, heading right towards me in their proper lane. Mm-hmm. And my last thought before the accident was, well, crap.
Yes. Yes.
And then I actually remember the hood and the front end of my hood and their front end of the car actually starting to crumple. Mm-hmm. And then I wake up with a gasp.
With a gasp?
Yeah, like the seatbelt had grabbed onto me. Mm-hmm. And so I guess it forced all the air out. And then whenever I breathed in was whenever it was like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I couldn't really see because my glasses had flung off. Mm-hmm. My hat was a little bit bloody that I had been wearing. Mm-hmm.
You didn't have your phone.
My phone was clear across the other side of the car because it got flung from the armrest. Mm-hmm. Which is why I was able to use somebody else's phone, because one of the people who lived right outside of where I had the accident happened to be outside at the time, and he rushed over. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, after the accident, I was looking at things, and I didn't even realize that my hand was bleeding until a few minutes later. Mm-hmm. And I was very rational about everything that was going on, and because I'd never really been in an accident or a serious situation like this before, I don't know if I was in shock or not. So, I mean, outside point of view, I understand that I looked very calm and collected and everything, whereas you were a blubbering baby.
I was a little bit on edge.
Yeah.
Yes,
Trying to
I
squeeze
was.
through the ambulance in the front.
Well, they wouldn't let me through the back doors. That I saw you in there, but I
Yeah.
just needed to hear your voice. I
Yeah.
needed to know that you're okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they knew that anything about you.
Right.
I didn't know if they were addressing the issues that you needed to be addressed.
Right.
And so, yes, there was an accident. There were all those things that happen when somebody's in an accident that need to be addressed. But because of your autism, I didn't know what was being affected. I didn't know if you needed to have me there because I'm your calming person.
Yeah.
Whenever you're in a situation that's, that creates anxiety, I'm the one that calms you.
Yeah.
And that's something you've said.
Yeah.
I'm not placing myself in that position. That's something that's, just naturally, I guess, has happened.
Yeah, you know me better than most other people, and so you know how to calm me down and everything, how to make sure that I am grounded.
Yes. And you were definitely in shock, and the other people were in shock. We should say now that the people that were injured are fine. They're fine. And now.
Yeah.
And the reason that we're talking about this now is because it took this long for everything to settle through insurance.
Yeah.
And, I don't know the ins and outs of that, but I just felt like that I just didn't want to talk about it until everything was resolved.
Yeah.
And it is, and thank goodness that they're healed. And and our insurance company took care of them.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that. When I got there, I could see you in the ambulance, but I couldn't hear you. And because I tried to open it, and I was told that I couldn't. And so I went to the front of the cab, and in an ambulance, they have this space that's opened in between. So you go from the cab to the back of the ambulance.
Yeah.
And I found that I could actually squeeze through there. So I talked to you from there, and found that you were okay. You seemed much calmer than I was, for sure.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. There were couple of things. One, you were in shock. The other thing, you had a concussion.
Yeah.
So sometimes it feels like things move slow.
Yeah. It was like that for months afterwards, even. Because of the concussion.
Right.
And so I remember that I would look somewhere, like I'd turn my head, and then half a second later my eyes would catch up.
Yes. Yeah. I know. It's like, I've seen that like on TV. You're talking about how like it's streaked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the positives that came from this accident, I think, is that I really did get to see you and how you react in a situation where you need to abdicate for yourself. And even though you had a concussion, you were just there for a few minutes, you really did handle things very, very well. What happened is that I think that's kind of was necessary to happen, and that kind of led us into doing a podcast. Yeah. Conversations that we've always had your whole life has always been, how do you feel about things? What does this do? How does it feel in your body?
Yeah.
What triggers you? What this, that, everything, all these questions. But when this accident happened, it felt like there was it felt like it was a movement forward. It felt like an opportunity to see you in a new way, for me anyway. And then the feeling that I wanted to share you with everyone. Because you're ready for that. And so anyway, even though the podcast wasn't right after the accident, right. I think it definitely led to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I the way you just worded it, I find it hilarious that for me to move forward, I had to have an abrupt stop.
Yes, you and me both. And it really started us down the path of really trying to separate, really trying to, for me, on my part, understanding what you can do on your own and then backing off more than ever. Because we'd always, as an adult, when you became an adult, I tried to back off, and then I would need to come back and help you. And sometimes just pick up the pieces, right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes the goal is to back off and to, have you do things on your own.
Yeah.
And with this accident, it really did put that in perspective, so that this very thing that was so scary and difficult in the moment, and then the months and years later after that, but I mean, now that we're talking now, a couple years after.
Yeah.
But, the months after, feeling like that the abilities that you've shown, going from doctors saying you can't do anything, including drive, to the way you handled yourself when you had an accident, an accident of this magnitude, and both cars were totaled.
Yeah.
And
well, that said, I did not note this before, but even the police officer said that it was a straight up accident, but somebody had to be at fault.
He did say that.
Yeah.
He did say that, and right. So and the way he described it to me is everything that you said as well. But this turn also has an angle to it, and that once you went around and started sliding, there was no way to recover from that, because
the decline was on the opposite side.
Yes. So
yeah.
it's just the way it was. So yes, it was an accident.
Yeah.
That had nothing to do with autism. I mean, I think that's a huge point to make.
Yeah. It had nothing to do with autism. It was just a straight up accident.
Right. And you know what? That's something that I think is a big deal to talk about too, is that there's so many things that when somebody has autism and when they're younger, they're growing up, oftentimes parents or caregivers were told so many things that can't happen, or things that we need to prepare for, because they're not, they're not going to meet milestones. That's what we're kind of told. And a lot of people with autism drive.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to ask about when it comes to that, with autism and driving, there's an awful lot that you have to take in all at once when you're driving.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the accident. You've been driving for 12 years, and this accident happened. So you're doing something right. You're doing a lot of things right, because this is your first accident.
Right.
So.
And with that being said, you also just did something right. Math.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. So what was I going to think? So you made me lose my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Driving for 12 years.
Oh, with autism.
Yeah.
So what does that feel like? And is there something in particular that you focus on? I mean, I know that the radio being off is important so that you don't get distracted. You said having somebody in the car with you that's talking or what have you. That
to me especially.
Yes. That needs to not happen.
Yeah. It is so much easier whenever I'm just by myself, because I don't drive like a lunatic, but I'm able to focus on the driving better whenever no one else is in the vehicle.
Right. That makes sense.
And one of the things that I've learned is that there is a lot of sensory stuff going on when you're driving. And I remember mentioning this a number of podcasts ago, but the thing I do with my tows for driveways and things like that, I do while I'm driving as well.
Wow. Is that just something you're not even aware of?
Sometimes. Sometimes I'm aware of it, sometimes I'm not. And then I realize, hey, I'm doing this.
So maybe somebody hasn't heard that podcast. So just briefly share what you do.
Whenever there is either grass or a curb that goes into a dip to level with the road or an entranceway or something like that. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's on the left side of the road of where I'm driving. Mm-hmm. It goes down or ends to go to that entranceway. I push down on my left toes.
So you get to a street or you get to a driveway.
Yes.
And you push down with your toes.
Just a quick little push.
Okay.
Push release. That fast.
And that's on the left side?
That's on the left side for it to start, and then whenever it ends, I push down with my right toes.
Even while you're driving?
Even while I'm driving.
Okay.
So it's a lot of sensory stuff.
Wow.
And I also do it with poles and like telephone poles and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Even road signs sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And for you, because it's the way that you walk and the way that you stand, the way that you do things is about angles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And patterns, yes.
And patterns.
I even do it with cars I start passing on the highway, or they pass me. with the angles and the wheel wells.
So we're getting to a point here where now that the insurance case is closed, you're asking to drive again.
Yes.
And hearing this makes me go, no.
And yet I've been doing this for 12 years.
Wow, that seems so overwhelming, Josh, because if just getting behind a wheel, there's so much to take in anyway.
Yeah.
Because there's the speed limit, so there's the traffic laws. Do you have stop signs? Who has the right of way? You have stopped lights.
You have other drivers.
You have pedestrians. Mm-hmm. You have here in Florida a lot of people riding bikes.
Yeah.
And so there's so much to take in.
Mm-hmm. To add all that on top of that, is one of the reasons why I don't like talking with people whenever I'm in the car driving.
Right.
Because I can't put all my attention to driving.
Mm-hmm. So what does it... Because I said, when we've talked about things your whole life, it's about how do things feel. Mm-hmm. So how does it feel driving? Do you feel anxious? Let's say before the accident.
Oh, before the accident, I was extremely confident.
Okay.
And since the accident, the few times I've drived, I've been hesitant.
The few times you've drived?
I've driven.
Drove?
Drove isn't a word.
Drove isn't a word?
No,
droves. Driven. We came in droves. Wrong word. Yeah. Driven.
Yes, driven.
Okay.
And
the reason I note that shocked me just now. I'm not making fun of you. It shocked me because you're meticulous.
Yes,
with your
I'm
verbiage.
Meticulous with my verbiage. Yes.
Yes. So.
And
I gotta tell you, it makes me kind of feel good whenever you your yearly misspeak.
You don't hang around me enough then.
I'm just saying it doesn't happen often. So,
yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, the few times that I have driven since the accident, I have not been... It was never overconfidence. It was just confidence that I could drive before.
Right.
And after, I was kind of hesitant and trying to be careful. Mm-hmm. And then I got hit again.
Right. I think it was the first time driving after that.
Yeah.
And you were in the right of way.
Mm-hmm.
You were in a parking lot, but they had parking spots to the left, to the right, and you had the throughway that was
through the parking lot.
Yes, that had the right of way. Mm-hmm. A person did not look, just came out right in front of you, and you could not avoid hitting them.
Right.
And that was their fault. Mm-hmm. But let me just say too that whenever there's an accident, we learned from that one. Mm-hmm. With your accident, there was never a time that you ever tried to say that it wasn't your fault.
Right.
If they're saying, because you left your lane, mm-hmm. and unintentional, but that's why you have insurance, right?
Yeah, that's what the ticket was written for. Mm-hmm. was failure to stay in my lane.
Exactly. And not everybody is as honest as you are and as we are. And this person tried to say that it was your fault. She said, actually, that you sped up and hit her. Which this is, one of those things that really makes you scratch your head,
Yeah.
But we took tons of pictures.
Yeah.
Of the vehicles, the location of the vehicles in that throughway. Mm-hmm.
The throughway itself.
The throughway itself, everything. So when she tried to say that it was your fault, that she was already crossing the road and you just flew into her, pretty much. Well, we had pictures that proved that to be completely false.
Yeah.
And so their insurance company, paid for everything.
Yeah.
But, so that's just a side note. So the fact is, you're in an accident, you get back in the car, and the very next time there's an accident. Mm-hmm. So how do you...
That really shook my confidence in my ability to drive. Mm-hmm. And for the longest time, I did not feel prepared to drive again. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult to... Well, you know how I am with change.
Yes.
This was a big change for me. Mm-hmm. And so that compounded on all of the medical issues I was having with a concussion and everything. Mm-hmm. And it really... I wouldn't say screwed me up, because that's not what it did. It just...
Well, it set you back, I think.
Yes.
So you're saying the other issues, the change. Do you mean the change in not driving?
Not just that, but the emotional aspect of it as well.
Got it. So going from feeling confident to feeling insecure about your abilities?
Not quite insecure, but not feeling anywhere near as confident.
Okay.
That was just one part of the change. Mm-hmm. And I mean, because it's not just with an accident, it's not just physical.
Right, I agree.
It's emotional, mm-hmm. It's mental, it's a whole slew of rational and irrational problems.
Right. Right, yes. It's really cool that you recognize that some of them are irrational. But that doesn't make them...
any less real.
Right. It doesn't make them, irrelevant.
Right.
So... the reason that you didn't drive for a while was kind of twofold. One was because you didn't want to.
Right.
You were nervous about it. You just didn't... And what you said was that you don't want to hurt anybody else. That's the first thing that you said about driving when we talked about it. Or you feeling like you want to drive. You said, I don't want to hurt anybody else. And after the other part of this, why it took a while for you to drive, is because on our end, you are on our insurance.
Yeah.
And because you're on our insurance, we are the ones that, if we were, for example, to be sued, we would be the ones being sued.
Right.
If they sued you, they could go down the list and find pretty quickly that they would get more out of us than they would you, but then they would get more out of the insurance company than us.
Right.
So, but it wasn't sure what was, we weren't sure what was going to happen at during the process, but it makes us nervous having gone through this now and recognizing, well, then when there's an accident and any of us are at fault, then it opens things up in a way that, we don't know, that we've never been through that before.
Right.
So we didn't know if we were going to get sued or we going to,
Right. Especially when they lawyered up and everything, it made it very stressful.
Yeah, it was very stressful. And we didn't want you to... We don't want to go through that again.
Right.
So we are in the process of looking at you getting insurance
on my own.
On your own. It's now that you're 30, it's probably doable.
Cheaper.
Yeah, doable. I don't know, because the accident. I'm not really sure.
Right.
I'm not really sure. But anyway, that was a real concern with us too. Is that we don't want to be in this position again.
Right.
It's very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And not knowing what's going to happen. So we're all so relieved, not only because everybody's healthy again, but because that whole thing hanging over us is gone.
Yes.
Right. But you're ready to drive again?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I am.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, because that means that you've worked through a lot of things and you've let go of a lot of things.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's been just over 2 years now since the accident.
Yep.
So things are working out where I have a job. I have the possibility of going back to school. I have all of these opportunities and things I want to do, but I need to rely on everyone else to be able to get to those things.
Right.
And that's very difficult to try and do.
Right.
I know that at least as an adult, I know that I was okay with that before I had a driver's license. Mm-hmm. It was frustrating sometimes whenever just because I couldn't get to things if you guys weren't there for it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I was still in high school and stuff.
When you got your license when you were 18.
Yeah.
You didn't...
Even my permit I got at 18.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. You just were not interested. You didn't want to drive.
Right.
So, but it happens for everybody whenever they're ready.
Yeah.
So that was not a big deal whatsoever. I was actually kind of happy about it. So now you're feeling like you want to be able to be self-sufficient.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
With that said, I'll never say no to help from you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Because there's a difference between being self-sufficient and being stupid.
Right? Yep. That's true. Well, good deal. Is there anything else that you want to share about the accident itself or the experience afterwards?
Well, one thing that was not mentioned is that whenever I got to the hospital, mm-hmm. I broke down. Yes. I started crying.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
At the time, even now, I mentally understand why. Mm-hmm. But at the time, I could not figure out why I was crying. Mm-hmm. Because I was still in shock and everything. I was still thinking about things logically. Well, as opposed to emotionally. Because it's my perspective that my emotions were muted mm-hmm. at the time of the accident. Mm-hmm. Like after the accident and immediately, up to the hospital, mm-hmm. my emotions were muted.
Well, you did a fantastic job of doing what you needed to do right after the accident. You were very calm, like you said. You were calm. I was a basket case. But you had a concussion. Mm-hmm. You were in shock. Mm-hmm. Adrenaline is pumping when something like this happens.
Yeah.
So by the time you got to the hospital, our cousin came to the hospital.
Yeah.
Our cousin Marianne, she came, and what a great support.
Yeah.
And Jan.
Yeah.
So you were surrounded
by... And Dr. Ogilvy.
And yes, Dr. Ogilvy came. And, so you were surrounded by people that love you, and then once you start coming off of that adrenaline, yes. Yeah. I think it just hit you of what you just went through. I remember that. I remember just, hugging you. Yeah. And, as much as I could reach you, because you were, you couldn't, they had you kind of secured there for all the testing they were doing. And, but, yeah. So, I think that's natural. Okay. I think that it was totally and completely reasonable that was the time when it would happen. Mm-hmm. Like you dealt with all the stuff you had to deal with. Now you're here. You're surrounded by all these people that love you. Yeah. Oh, now you can let go. Yeah. So, and I also you probably saw a lot of worried faces. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And, we spent New Year's in the hospital. Mm-hmm. Like, the ball dropped, we were still in the hospital room. Mm-hmm. And... Yes. People were celebrating down the halls. Mm-hmm. I'm like, please shut up.
Yes. Yep.
I never said it out loud, but
right. You could tell you were just not up for it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I'm just grateful that the other people are okay. I'm grateful that you're okay, and it seems like we're on the next chapter of you. We'll find out about insurance. Mm-hmm. You're getting behind the wheel again. Yeah. And, I guess we'll just check in with you and see how you're doing. Yeah. With that, yeah. It's one of those things, sometimes things happen that are we call bad, but good comes of it. Yeah. And for you and I think it really did help us to move forward and I recognize that you could handle more than I thought you could. Mm-hmm. And so that was a really cool thing to see. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, I'm proud of you, and I have no doubt that you're going to get your confidence back driving. And
thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, is there anything else?
Try not to get into an accident.
Yes. Right. Take it easy. Yeah. Yeah, take it easy. There's something that I learned from all the gigs I traveled to that one of the bookers sent this out to everybody is that when it's raining, not that you did this, but for anybody that's out there, don't use your cruise control when it's raining. Because if you start to hydroplane whatsoever, your car doesn't know. And the wheels just keep spinning. Yeah. And it's not safe. So if you're out riding even if it's drizzling, do not use your cruise control because it's not safe. Right. So that's a PSA, I guess, for this one. Anyway, everybody, thank you so much for listening. I appreciate it. I want to thank everybody for giving us 5 stars. We appreciate that. It helps us to be seen. It makes a huge difference. So thank you for that. Visit us at my website, sonyaking.com. That's sonyaking.com. My Twitter is Sonya King Comedy, at Sonya King Comedy. And we also have a YouTube page. You can listen to this. I don't know how this gets out there. Your dad takes care of it all. Everybody's asking. We didn't do a podcast last week because he was really sick. A lot of people are asking about it. Just to let everybody know. It was on the verge of pneumonia that he had, and
Dad?
led into an ear infection that led to vertigo. So he had a really rough time, so we didn't demand that he was, you do this for us. We just said, dude, you're
Relax.
a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can skip it. You're a mess. So anyway, but Josh and I appreciate you listening every week, and thank you for your comments and your concern about Josh's dad. But anyway, take care of yourselves. Drive safe. Love ya.
Bye.